All right, hello and welcome to the daily recap. Today is Tuesday, July 21st, 2020, and yeah, I'm just going to jump right into this one. Okay, so starting off, the first thing that I'm noticing for today is if you look over here on this left side here, right, we can see that we have a very red day overall, right? And so that's why I have up on the chart here this ticker right here, which is XLK, right? That just stands for the tech sector, right? So technology ultimately had a red day today, and that's why I was trying to show you that all these names are red over here, right? And funny enough, we are having earnings for all of these plays coming up very shortly. Netflix already had its, right? So I'm just going to show you quickly the SPX here. Okay, and as for SPX, right, the first thing that you should notice here is that we've started to finally approach and actually enter this purple zone up here, right? So this purple zone, that is our gap from this close to this open, right? And we haven't touched it since. This was when the pandemic first started, right? And I can just quickly show you, right? So we're on this bullish ride, right? And then finally the pandemic started, and whatever else happened, we gapped down, and then we just never looked back, right? Until now we're starting to get back up, creep back up into those levels, right? So we finally entered the gap, right? And I'm always talking about gap fills and how you can capitalize on them, right? And that's what I'm going to be showing you a little bit on. Actually, I'm going to make a separate video on it, but today was a really good trade for a lot of these tech names today to fill the gaps, because a lot of them were actually gapping up into the open, and I had called it out in my Discord to watch for the gap fills for today, because everything was gapping up. So usually when that happens, you know, we're probably going to see some kind of pull in into those levels where they gapped from, and that's exactly what we saw today. Could have capitalized on it if you were watching it, right? But yes, so we finally broke above this pandemic high and with strength, right? Closed above it, and now we are entering our gap zone, right? So now what I'm looking for now in the coming weeks is to see if we can slowly grind higher and ultimately fill this gap. It usually doesn't happen so easily, you know. We're probably gonna come up, pull back it down into here, and then go for it, you know, or maybe 2 times, you know, and then we'll go for it. But we'll see what happens. But I'm expecting us. I don't expect us to go all the way straight up, but if we do, again, we're targeting this 33.35 level start, and to the downside, we have some form of demand right here at this 32.32. I'm hoping this can hold up as support, this level here. It is also converged with our weekly pivot zone here and our monthly pivot zone right under it. So we should see some good support down in these areas down here, right? All the way down as far as 31.82, right? I'm expecting that area to hold up. Okay. Okay, so as for Apple, the first thing that I'm actually interested in looking at is actually the weekly time frame, right? Even though we're only at the second day of the week, I just wanted to quickly show you again. It looks a little better on the weekly time frame, but again, our weekly edges here, right? This purple line right here, that is one of the indicators we use to indicate potential areas of support or resistance throughout the week. And once again, it held up, right? So as soon as price came into it, it rejected it and pushed down, right? And that's what these are for. They show you that price will reject these areas, right? Price rejects these areas, right? So that's what I see immediately. And now diving over onto the daily chart here, you can see it as well, right? So today we opened up, we gapped up from down here, gapped up here, and ultimately faded the whole session pretty much, right? But like I always say, right? Whenever you see something like this, a gap up like this, especially a gap up into our weekly pivot zone here, oh, that's a perfect combination to expect a gap fill, right, to the downside, obviously. And in this case, you could have banked on it, right? But we are getting, one thing that you should know is that we are still continuing this trend of making higher lows, right? We're pushing higher still. So we are up back into these all-time high territories for Apple, right? And so I'll quickly show you on the 15 here. Okay, so on the 15-minute chart, right, we can see that yesterday we actually had a very bullish day, right? Came into here, created this balance, and then pushed higher, right? So a rally, base rally, right? And then just chopped a little bit and then rose for the rest of the session. Okay, today, right, this is where we ended off, and then today we gapped up all the way above our weekly pivot, tried to hold, got below it. It acted as resistance again, and then ultimately we faded. So a drop, we based out, and then we dropped again. Okay, and then we based again, rallied, based, and then dropped again. Okay, so that's today's price action. Really, we just kind of went like this and went down. But again, one thing that you should be taken aware of is this gap fill that occurred right here, right? So pretty much from the open, and then where I'd be taking this trade is pretty much right here. Once it gets below the pre-market low, which was right here, this 395 level, take that thing short, right? And this is your exit, right? You would have been within the first 15 minutes, right? You're done. You could have been done for the day. And if you wanted to hold on longer, anticipating a more aggressive move, right? You can take that all the way down there. You have no reason to sell. It's not going against you at all. Your position didn't. If you got in right here at 395, your position never went against you once. You were in the money the whole time, just riding the whole wave down, right? And that's what I want everybody to take away from this is the power of the gap fill, right? And I'm just going to quickly go over the rest because I don't want this video to be too long, but go over NVDA. Okay, so for NVDA here, we had an inside day from yesterday, right? And ultimately, we are again just pushing higher right now. Again, what I wanted to touch on with Apple was that we have earnings on the 30th and earnings in August for NVIDIA. So not too soon, but in the coming weeks, right? But just watch, right? We're back up here into this range here, which is the all-time high range, right? So this is pretty much the last close we've had. So right there at that level there. So probably on this 425 level, if we break above there, I'm expecting that we're going to go for all-time highs, but obviously not before we get through our weekly pivot zone there. Okay. As for Microsoft, once again, more of the same, right? Everything is going to be red. Everything was red today because these are all tech stocks, okay? And yeah, and the tech sector was red today, right? So once again, a rejection of our weekly pivot zone, right? We pushed back down through our 211 key level here, which held up a few times. And yeah, pushed down into our 208 zone that we've had throughout these videos. We didn't just draw that there today, right? It's been a level. Once again, our levels are holding up, right? But yeah, that's what I've noticed for there. If we are going to push higher, right? We have earnings coming up. Let's see when. Earnings tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow we have earnings. So let's see what happens. Okay, we want to see if we can hold this 208 level. If not, right, we're going down here to at least 204, and probably what I'm expecting is our monthly pivot zone here around 201 to 200 level. Okay, so that's what I'm expecting for Microsoft. If we have good earnings, however, right, I'm definitely anticipating a push through 214, which is our weekly pivot zone here. Okay, and ultimately through our weekly pivot zone, we're going to be attacking all-time highs, right, up at this 216 level. Okay, so next on our watch here is Tesla. Okay, and once again, red, like I stated in the video already, that we would be having red across the board, right? But what you can see here is that we had an inside day based on yesterday's candle. And yeah, pretty much came into our 1550 level here approximately in that general region here. And that's where we closed. So for tomorrow, that's when we have earnings. Wouldn't be making any trades there unless you're collecting premium on it. But what I'll be looking for is if you are going for a move, an earnings play, right? I would be looking for a move up and through at the very least this 1650 level, right? okay, and then above there 1700s, and ultimately targeting our weekly pivot zone here, which is at 1750. And if earnings are really good, right, we can easily see 1800s and a new all-time high, right? Because a stock like Tesla, we have huge expansive candles like these, right? We can see a move like that, especially from an earnings play, right? And if we look back at our last few earnings plays, right, you can see here we had earnings, and look what happened. Explosion, right? We had earnings over here, came up, came back down. Not the best examples of what I'm trying to explain, but what you should know is that we can have these kind of explosions, right, after earnings. Okay, but if we do not have good earnings, definitely watch below this 1515 level, 1550, and ultimately targeting somewhere down here, right, in this 1400 level to hold up as support. As for Amazon, we have earnings next week. Okay, actually, yes, next week on the 30th. Okay, and yeah, once again, red day, right? We're getting back into this all-time high level here area, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks. But if we are to push to the downside, we have protection here on this 3100 level, right? Lower than that, this 3000 level, right? And ultimately down at this 2900 level, we also have this form of support down there. And above there, above our 3212 level, right, we can see easily our weekly pivot zone here at 3300, especially into next week if we have earnings, good earnings, strong earnings, and ultimately 3344, right? Finally, we have Netflix. Okay, and what we can see here from Netflix is that we had a miss on earnings, right? Earnings came out and we opened up down here, and we kind of are we filled the gap, right? And what you should be noting is that we have some form of support down here. Okay, I'm gonna actually price it in right now. Okay, I'm gonna say it's this 485 level, and let me just do this. Okay, so yeah, around this 485 level, we have some form of support right there. And this is where after earnings, we're kind of just been chilling out down here in this general range. But yeah, it's interesting to see, because the real question now is, since Netflix was the first to report their earnings from the tech sector, right? Is that what the general consensus is going to be? Are they all going to have poor earnings, or at least are the majority going to have poor earnings, or are they going to push higher? We'll see tomorrow, especially with Tesla and Microsoft reporting tomorrow. We have other names like Facebook reporting sometime soon. I didn't check when those are, but ultimately, you're just going to want to see what is the trend. Is tech going to be holding up, or is it going to be pushing down, right? But that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys are staying green and staying consistent. If there's any value at all in these videos, drop a like or a comment below. And ultimately, if you really find value in this, I have my email in the description if you want to join our Discord server, where I will give you plays every day. And yeah, that's where you can reach me one-on-one as well. But thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.